Okay, welcome to the July 27th regular council meeting. I'd like to start by recognizing that we are gathering and governing on the unceded traditional territory of what is now known as the Comox Nation, and we are grateful for their grace and collaboration as we do this good work on their lands. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. And I will note that Councillor Tyrion is away on a family matter, and Councillor Ward is zooming in from faraway lands. We don't know how far away it is. Okay, and there are minutes for adoption, Committee of the Whole, July 13th, and regular council, July 13th.
Move the minutes.
Second.
All in favor of those? Thank you. And we have a delegation, Comox Valley Apartheid Free Coalition. Whoever wants to come up and speak.
3 of us are speaking.
Okay, there's 2 mics there, so you're welcome to share those in whatever way. Make sure the little red light's on.
I might be. That's
Yeah.
okay. Totally go. That's why I'm checking.
Yeah. The pregnant lady said.
Thank you. And thanks, Rachel.
Yeah. All right. I can start?
Yes.
Yep. Thanks, Vicki. As you said, we also would like to do a land acknowledgement that we're gathering on the traditional unceded territories of the Pentlatch, Sathlut, Sasitla, Hahe, and Aixin people. Our presence here is rooted in the history of displacement and violence inflicted by the settler Canadian state, which is a history we must acknowledge as we discuss justice elsewhere. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all today. My name is Heather. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a resident of Cumberland. This is Laura, uses she, her, coming from Courtney?
Comox.
Sorry.
That's okay.
And this is Lily, who also uses she, her, and is from Cumberland as well. We represent the interests of a diverse group of local residents, neighbors, workers, and allies through the Apartheid-Free Comox Valley Coalition, or AFCVC. We share the belief that our municipality must align its investments and procurement with human rights. Here's what we'll go over in today's presentation. First, we'll introduce the coalition and the apartheid-free movement, followed by our request and some considerations in its application. Next, we briefly cover some necessary context for the request, then explain how it all matters locally and how Cumberland residents are affected. Due to time constraints, we can't cover everything in great depth, but we welcome questions and discussion following the presentation. Our group is a group of Comox Valley residents from all walks of life. We represent a local chapter of apartheid-free communities, a transnational coalition of municipalities, faith groups, and other organizations, pledging to end apartheid everywhere, with an urgent focus on Israel's apartheid against Palestinians.
Next slide. The request. Today we have one specific concrete request for the Village of Cumberland to pass a resolution directing the Finance Department to audit municipal holdings and procurement for ties to Israel, military occupation, and apartheid, with the goal of divestment. Number 6, the tool. In completing this financial review, we are asking you to use an existing objective tool, the UN Special Rapporteurs Database, compiled by Francesca Albanese. This database identifies corporations with substantial business links to the economy of occupation and apartheid. Using this list ensures our review is based on international law and not political preference.
So in applying that screening tool, some areas we had thought the finance department could consider are procurement. So the village buys equipment, software, services. We're asking for existing contracts to be reviewed against the UN database, and for the village perhaps even to consider having future contracts, including clauses that require bidders to disclose ties with entities on that list. So by way of example, if the village buys cloud infrastructure from a company that is surveilling Palestinian civilians who may be subsequently killed by drone missiles. We are directly funding those abuses. I did also have a read of Cumberland's economic development strategy, the most currently available version that's online, which explicitly cites the priorities of conducting investment attraction and expanding accommodation, a number of others as well, but in the village. And those are important priorities, given that Cumberland's population is growing. It's got such a beautiful natural environment here and such a vibrant arts community. So in implementing these priorities in the economic development strategy, our request translates to human rights-based contracting, both of existing and possible future contracts, just ensuring that the counterparty doesn't have any affiliation with any of those UN-listed corporations. Another area to consider is discretionary funds, right? So any operating surplus or capital reserves could be invested in funds that typically automatically do include major multinational corporations like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, that are listed in this UN database, unless those companies are explicitly screened out. So indirect ownership may be a route of complicity with Israel's apartheid. I also did some research into the pension plan. So we understand that Cumberland participates in the BC Municipal Pension Plan. The most current information online, which was December 2024, states that 19% of the pension's investment holdings are in global equities, which again often hold shares in those major multinational corporations. And we understand that council can't directly divest from those funds. It's a jointly trusteed plan. However, perhaps a route that could be used is political pressure to change what happens at the provincial level, right? Passing a motion urging the BC Pension Corporation to adopt a human rights screen that excludes some or all of the companies in the UN database. And these are just ideas, right? A little bit about feasibility and risk management in this application, because those are valid and real concerns. So I want to start by saying that socially responsible divestment has consistently proven to be both manageable and low risk. So when North American cities divested from South African apartheid in the 1980s and 90s, studies showed, tracking over time, zero negative impact on risk-adjusted long-term returns. And this was confirmed by a number of sources. They're all in the references if you're interested. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, confirmed that historical examples of socially responsible divestment campaigns didn't harm long-term portfolio performance. There's a local example that I wanted to just highlight. So Portland, Maine passed a similar resolution, and their finance director stated explicitly that there was no financial impact, namely because these holdings are often small fractions of a total portfolio, and replacements can be found easily. He noted that their city typically invests more locally, and we do understand that to be broadly true of Cumberland as well. Regarding feasibility, so screening tools do exist, such as the UN database we've provided. Other municipalities from Burnaby to Copenhagen have done this successfully. It doesn't need to happen overnight, right? It's manageable, low risk, and it's increasingly expected by constituents. So ultimately, though, whatever amount of municipal funds that can be divested away from war crimes is important. Right? Taxpayer dollars in any form should not profit from apartheid.
Taking a stand. You may then ask, if it's so low risk, why do it at all? What's the impact? To paraphrase human rights activist and Nobel Peace Prize recipient Archbishop Desmond Tutu, because neutrality in the face of injustice is complicity. Next slide. Necessary context. Israel's system is not a conflict between equals. It is a documented apartheid and ongoing genocide. Since October 2023, which was already the deadliest year on record for Palestinian children in the West Bank, prior to October 7th, the situation in Palestine has dramatically escalated. And these numbers I'm going to give you are as of mid-2024, because they stopped counting. but over 73,000 Gazans have been killed, including over 20,000 children. And those are direct conflict deaths, not through healthcare issues and lack of access to food, water, the necessities of life, and excluding those presumed dead under the rubble. International bodies like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and the International Court of Justice recognize this reality, as do various Palestinian, Israeli, and other human rights groups. Apartheid itself is legally defined as a crime against humanity and a violation of international law. It includes inhumane acts committed for the purpose of establishing and maintaining dominance by one racial group of persons over any other racial group of persons and systematically oppressing them. Such acts include murder, torture, arbitrary arrest, legislative discriminatory measures, the persecution of people resisting apartheid, and more. Importantly, apartheid is about state-sanctioned racist policies, not individual prejudice. Just some documented examples of Israel's apartheid against Palestinians include laws that privilege Jewish Israelis, legal denial of Palestinian right to return following the Nakba, separate legal systems in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, the siege and collective punishment and genocide in Gaza, home demolition and land confiscation, and forcible transfer, displacement, and the arrest, military prosecution, and the systematic targeting of Palestinian children, as documented in the June 2026 United Nations report. And I'd like to add that as a Jewish Canadian, I have more of a right to return to Israel and hold land there than the people of Palestine. So.
Thanks, Lily. The Cumberland Connection. By investing in or purchasing from companies named in the UN report, Cumberland risks legal and reputational liability. Tax dollars of Cumberland residents may be inadvertently funding war crimes. More importantly, it violates our own values. For example, the anti-racial discrimination and anti-racism policy from 2022, which purports to protect Palestinians, people with family and friends in Palestine, and their allies who are members of our community from harm. And that includes Palestinian people who are in Cumberland or the Comox Valley that are impacted by what's going on with their families. The official community plan and strategic plan commit to implementing UNDRIP and advancing reconciliation. Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission also links reconciliation at all levels of government within Canada to Canada's international human rights obligations. As a municipality that exists as a product of Indigenous settler colonialism, how can we advance meaningful reconciliation with Indigenous peoples here if we fund the colonization and genocide of Palestinians of all religions, widely recognized as being indigenous to the areas, consisting of the State of Israel and the occupied territories, such as aka Gaza and the West Bank. Ultimately, all of this is a local issue, and costs to residents are not purely financial either. Anti-Palestinian racism harms our neighbors. Global instability driven by war has increased gas prices, food costs, and ferry fees. And our community has spoken. In the coming weeks, we will be delivering petitions and letters of support from local businesses.
Just to conclude, now, so precedent for our request exists, right? As we were saying earlier, during the South African apartheid, Canadian cities like Nanaimo, Montreal, and Hamilton led with ethical procurement and divestment advocacy. And today, municipalities around North America are doing the same for Palestine. So we argue that by acting now, Cumberland leads rather than follows. Waiting until public pressure becomes overwhelming puts council in a reactive position, and acting now strengthens public trust and affirms Cumberland's reputation as a leader in social justice, and particularly heading into the October elections.
Our request is for the Village of Cumberland to pass a resolution directing the Finance Department to audit municipal holdings and procurement for ties to Israeli military occupation and apartheid in accordance with the UN Special Rapporteurs database, with a plan for divestment and ethical contracting. We have provided a sample resolution for the full UN database and additional information about Israel's apartheid and the apartheid-free communities movement for your records. Should the council ever be open to learning more about other ways to support Palestinians at a local level, such as signing the Apartheid-Free Communities Pledge, which was designed for organizations and municipalities to sign, 3 in Canada already, we would be happy to further speak to you. We will close with a quote from highly respected former Chief Commissioner for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, the Honourable Murray Sinclair. Apartheid is working for reconciliation. We are all working to dismantle. Oh, sorry.
Oh, apartheid is
Exactly what happened here. The apartheid system still exists, and it is what we, who are working for reconciliation, are all working to dismantle. In other words, seeking to undo apartheid in one part of the world does and should not negate efforts to undo apartheid elsewhere in the world, whether in South Africa, Canada, or Palestine. Thank you for your time, your courage, and your willingness to stand with human rights. And we would love to open it up for questions if you have any.
I do have some paper copies of the things I mentioned in the presentation as well, if they're of interest now, and I can also email them to you afterwards. Would you like a paper copy now? Sure. Is it okay?
I'd rather have an email.
Also like to credit Laura with the bulk of the research around procurement and finances. And I can say I cannot speak to that piece particularly. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for all of you for being here. And thank you for your passion and your commitment to your cause. And also thank you for adjusting your delegation to fit with our policies so that we could hear you. The reason Cumberland hears delegations like this is because our residents want to have an opportunity to speak to us. And I think it's important for us to hear the concerns in our community. Whether or not we have the capacity to do anything about it is a separate question. So I appreciate you all being here. Any questions from council?
No questions from me. Just respect the necessity and the integrity of your delegation, so thank you.
Thank you.
No questions from me. Thank you for the research, and we'll take a look at that. This database is readily available. Are there other communities that have cross-referenced with finance that you are our size and maybe have an idea of what kind of resources that takes?
Yeah, so some of the municipalities, and I've included sample resolutions in that package for your reference, they're actually larger than Cumberland, right? So and they have not noticed or found any negative financial impacts.
I just meant just the time, how that might take to do an audit like that, not necessarily the financial impacts. I don't imagine.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to happen immediately, but it is something that we feel could be incorporated into long-term, Cumberland's long-term vision, right? As the population continues to grow and to be a safe and inclusive community for everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Ward, did you have anything?
No, just to echo the thanks for the work and the commitment.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, there's probably a recommendation to receive that delegation.
I'll move the council receive the delegation of Heather Thompson, Lily Jakob, and Laura Oberg, Comox Valley Apartheid Free Coalition.
Second.
All in favor of that receipt? Thank you, that's carried. And we do have a late item correspondence relating to another item on our agenda from the Cycling Coalition. So it's just speaking to the proposed route that is later in the agenda. If somebody wants to move receipt of that.
Is that 5.1?
That is 5.1.
Move receipt of 5.1.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? And next up is reports. Emergency operations scope and budget update. And the fire chief is here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A couple of years ago, we looked at our ELC building, and we've had meetings in there and stuff like that, and we've put in the budget a few years ago in 2023 to fix the roof and add air conditioning to the training room there, or the ELC room. And so it was pushed back a couple of years, and then this year was accepted. So I think we sort of missed the ball there by not increasing it as we went along. Because now, when we get the prices to do it this year, of course, it's way higher. So we sort of miss we kept the same budget after budget, we kept the same cost in there, which I feel we shouldn't have done that. We should have went and got new quotes and stuff. Because now it's increased. There's two different ways we could do it, if you're still in favor of doing it. And we're asking for an increase to the budget for 2026 so we can do that job. If there's any questions?
Okay. Questions? Did we originally get a grant to do this? I feel like there was a grant a few years ago for EOC operations, no?
There wasn't for building part of it.
Oh, okay.
We did get grants, but not for the actual
But it was for
building.
equipment, it wasn't for
Yeah.
our actual.
So we got like $60,000 worth of EOC equipment, but it didn't fix the roof.
Okay. And the air conditioning, like it's just a heat pump that's going in that.
Yeah, there's two options on here, like we can plumb it in from the gym, pipe it in. I don't know how effective that would be. The recommendation was to put a separate unit in, and that would take care of it. We can
Yeah.
do it either way. It's $3,000 difference.
Yeah.
Price.
Okay. Thoughts? Questions?
Well, I think for $3,000, it's better to have some redundancy involved in that. And, if you're running an EOC and we've got a major fire
Could get hot.
situation here, it's going to get even hotter there.
Yeah.
EOCs are important, and it's also important to have redundant EOCs within an area. I mean, the major ones at the CVRD, but that's not to say that that Cumberland might absorb something if that building ever got damaged. So
Yeah.
it helps strengthen that network.
So that was the other thing I should have brought up too, was in a disaster or in a major fire or whatever, the fire hall becomes very busy. So that was the other reason for looking at insulating it a little bit, keeping the noise down. And so it's sort of designed to work all in there by itself and allow the fire hall to do its operations too. But we think it would be pretty noisy in there with firemen coming in and out, trucks coming in and out, and you're trying to run an EOC. It could be an issue.
And there's not, I don't know what they're called. It's not the HVAC system in there is not throughout the building. It's all split, like the air conditioning is done in each individual room?
No, it goes through the whole building except for that section and the fire truck bays.
Okay, I'm just thinking about smoke, like, anyway. I
We
don't
do
know,
have
overthink it.
smoking. We have scrubbers in the
In
bay.
the larger, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, what's your pleasure, council? There's a recommendation
I'll
there?
move the council direct staff to bring forward an amendment to the adopted 2026-2030 financial plan bylaw to reflect this expenditure and funding. Did I miss something? Oh, sorry. That council approve an increase of $10,200 to complete the ceiling and install air conditioning in the EOC room funded by the village facility, and that council direct staff to bring forward an amendment to the adopted 2026-2030 financial plan bylaw to reflect this expenditure and spend funding.
Second.
All in favor of that? Excellent. Thanks for being here, Mike. Okay, next up is Woodstove Festival road closure and noise bylaw exemption request.
Good evening. So, yeah, I'm here to introduce my report on the proposed street closure and a couple of noise control bylaw exemption requests for this November's Woodstove Festival. So the proposed street closure will be on 2nd Street, just above Dunsmuir, between Dunsmuir and the alleyway. For the duration of the festival from Friday. Oh,
No, you're on. There we go.
is that better, Nick?
Yeah.
So, as I was saying, the closure would be on 2nd Street between Dunsmuir and the alleyway just to the north. It would be in place for the duration of the festival from Friday morning through to Sunday evening. And it would accommodate food trucks and a seating area that would be open to the general public, not just wristband holders, ticket holders, that kind of thing. Because the proposed food court zone is more than 30 meters from any food primary establishment, no formal support is required from any other food primary businesses. Although the applicant did solicit letters of support, to date, staff have only received one such letter, which was supportive of the road closure, not necessarily supportive of the food trucks. Staff haven't received any other letters besides that one. And it's also, I think, worth mentioning that last year's Woodstove Festival included 3 mobile food vendors. 2 were placed in front of the cultural center here, and 1 was down at Village Park near the camping setup. That wouldn't be the case this year. The 4 mobile vendors that are proposed as part of this zone would replace those 3 others. So the street closure is a significant change to what's been offered in the past, but there's not necessarily a significant, like it's just the addition of 1 additional mobile vendor. Staff recommendation for the closure is that it be approved, and then it's also accompanied by a recommendation to approve a corresponding noise control bylaw exemption that would go until midnight on the Friday and Saturday. And that's just, while there's no amplified sound that's part of this proposal, and the applicant is saying they're going to do their best to minimize noise from generators, encouraging quiet generators, that kind of thing. We do anticipate some ambient noise from it, whether it's through generators, through just people milling about and enjoying themselves during peak times, that kind of thing. So that's the food court side of things. The final recommendation in the report is a noise control bylaw exemption to allow outdoor music at Village Square until 11 o'clock p.m. And that's on the Friday and the Saturday of the event. And that's for it's publicly accessible, they call it the Page Stage, an open air publicly accessible venue. So 11 p.m. is 1 hour earlier than what was requested by the applicant, who wanted it until midnight, but it's 1 hour later than what's currently allowed under the noise control bylaw. Yeah, we feel that the exemption until 11 p.m. Is a reasonable compromise between the cultural benefits of the event and the potential impacts on nearby residents. But without any further ado, I'll turn it over to you and let you decide.
Thank you. Questions, council?
Are we allowed to make it till midnight? Is that just the recommendation?
You can do
So-
whatever you like. Yep.
I think
can
that
alter
festival brings so much to the village. I think when midnight isn't that late personally, but
Yeah, I'd be in support of keeping it to midnight. I mean, people are out there anyway. I don't think it's the worst idea.
I think the people who live in the downtown core might have feelings about that. And I think staff has come up with a compromise. Councillor Ward, do you have thoughts about the noise bylaw?
Yeah, I can absolutely see the other councillors' views on that. I also sympathise with those who live very close by. Our downtown core is pretty tight and dense, and there's a lot of events each year. I like staff's compromise.
All right.
I'm just throwing this out there to be honest, just to have a chat conversation about this. But how about one night and at midnight and one at 11 maybe?
And just for the sake of clarity, we're talking specifically about the Village Square aspect
Yes.
right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause that's also a free venue, isn't it?
That's correct. Yeah, both of
Which-
these are
which-
free, publicly accessible aspects of the event.
And
Yeah.
are they planned? Are they scheduled music? Or is it like that's where people get to go and just play music if they want to play music?
My understanding is that the Page stage is scheduled.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting
Yeah.
nods from people who know better than I do.
Which is kind of my suggestion to make it go along. Like,
Yeah.
give them the midnight because that's free, and people who haven't paid and are in our town, it gives them somewhere to be and something to do.
Yeah.
Because it'll be packed here.
Yeah.
And I really thought
Oh, it
that was
always
a
is.
big coup last year of having more free areas. So
Yeah.
that's just where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
I agree with Councillor Sullivan. I think, I think the ambient noise is going to be the same, whether that stage is open until midnight or whether it's open till 11. I don't think you're going to notice a huge difference downtown, because other venues are going to be open longer. So, and it allows a little more accessibility for people who don't have a ticket. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, for this whole kind of question, the food trucks and the noise bylaw for the square, is that part of the benefit of this festival is that the whole downtown becomes different venues. And yeah, you need a ticket to get in. But those people that go into those venues, food and beverage venues, are then spending money in those food and beverage venues. And the more we move things out of those venues and onto the street and or park, the less benefit those. That's the thing I'm trying to weigh in my mind right now. So that's maybe up to the event
In
organizers
that regard, I
to
feel like
manage.
almost every business benefits,
Yeah,
greatly by this event all weekend long. I
Yeah.
can speak personally for sure. This is the biggest weekend that we have.
oh yeah, for sure. But if you're a food and beverage business and you're hosting musicians, and you're drawing people into your venue, you're also selling things outside of.
I think those venues are packed and it's hard to get in the first place. That's been my experience. If you want to get food and listen to music, you have to line up for a very long time.
Yeah.
I don't think it would take away from those personally.
I 100%
I would-
support. Oh, sorry, Nick. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say I am actually persuaded by the reminder that the Page stage is on the timing of the noise exemption. So persuaded by the reminder that Page stage is freely accessible to anyone, and that and contributing to that, I could support that midnight.
On both nights? Did we get any noise complaints last year?
Did we get complaints? Yes, that's the question. And
Or something?
and I also, sorry, go on, answer that.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't recall any formal complaints from last year. I'll just have a quick look while you're chatting, if you like.
I mean, it's Friday and Saturday nights, so
It's not one. Midnight's pretty
It's-
reasonable.
yeah.
I really
Yeah.
feel a huge value that
And I'm also persuaded by Councillor Barecki's point that the ambient noise for that hour might not be particularly different, whether the stage is programmed. I mean, it's amplified, but there's a liveliness and a buzz still going on both those nights at that point.
Maybe
Well
just
after
don't
midnight.
book in someone that's really going to ratchet it right up. That would be.
yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty.
You can smooth things out a little bit.
well, maybe the organizers are listening right now.
Maybe.
Maybe some of them are here.
So, and then on the food trucks, we'll just have the conversation, then we'll come back to where we're at. I did hear from one other, so we got email correspondence, and then we got, I also heard from another food and beverage who was like, I don't love the idea of the food trucks. So, and I get that, having just said a lot of the benefit of this festival is not just to us, but to our business community. And so I guess if we approve the food truck the food court this year, does that mean that it automatically gets included in next year's festival, or could we do like a year pilot? Or should we just be leaving that to the festival organizers and the businesses that are hosting the festival to sort that out? Like, I don't know how much involvement we want to have as a council.
Yeah, I think that you could give yourselves that level of control if you like. Currently, the street closures for special events policy requires any new long-term closure to come to council.
Right.
So if you were to just approve it this year, it wouldn't necessarily have to come back, but you could also approve it like we've done with other things, approve it for 2026 and say, if a similar application is made in 2027, we'd like it to come back before council.
Okay, or if we got complaints, then we would bring it back.
Yeah, absolutely. And just while you were talking there, I had a look. I don't see any documented noise complaints from last year's Woodstock.
Okay. Okay, good.
Giddy up.
Okay.
Should we make a recommendation?
Did you have anything? I'll just check with Councillor Ward first. You're good?
No, I'm
Okay.
fine, thank you.
All right.
Okay, go for it.
And by the way, I love this festival. I'm biased.
Everybody loves
I don't
this
have
festival.
any skin in it financially or musically, but I just it brings so much. And with some of the larger festivals that have left here or just gone elsewhere, I think this really shines and it's unique for Cumberland. So I'd like to make the recommendation that council approve the closure of 2nd Street from Dunsmuir Avenue to the alleyway between Penrith and Dunsmuir Avenue from Friday, November 6, 2026 at 10 a.m. to Sunday, November 8th, 2026 at 11 p.m., leaving Dunsmuir and the alleyway open at all times. And that council recommend the chief administrative officer approve a noise control bylaw exemption request from the organizers of the Woodstow Festival to allow sound from generators and festival attendees on 2nd Street between Dunsmuir Avenue and the alleyway between Penrith and Dunsmuir Avenues from 10 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. on Friday, November 6th and Saturday, November 7th, 2026, and that council recommend the chief administrative officer approve a noise control bylaw exemption request from the organizers of the Woodstow Festival to allow amplified sound at the Village Square from 11 p.m.
It would start at 10 p.m.
10 p.m. to midnight on Friday, November 6th, and Saturday, November 7th, 2026. Sorry, thanks.
Somebody needs to second that.
I think Councillor Ward. Second.
All in favor? And that is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did we do the last one? Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up is High Performance Lagoon Upgrades Phase 2 tender results. Jason.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this report is to bring forward the results of the recent tender we did for the construction portion of our Phase 2 of the wastewater treatment plant High Performance Lagoon project. So we did have 2 bids that came in. As you can see here, lowest was $1,074,903 from a company called Milestone Contracting Incorporated out of Nanaimo. And so staff is making the recommendation that we move forward with a contract with that company to get that work started this fall.
That's a lot of money. Sorry, it's just a big number there. Questions, Council?
I did have one. Am I correct in reading, in my interpretation of the report, that the budget amount for this was in the order of 3.9 million, including some other things? But those are soft costs and contingencies. Is that a correct reading?
So that budget included some other pieces as well, as like our tertiary filtration that went into the facility. So that was part of the Phase 2. The soft costs are built within that as well. So there are a number of items, not just the construction portion, that make up that 3.86. So, when we brought forward this budget, we still have a bit of contingency with where we're at with this right now. But no, we don't have 3.86 just for the construction, so we're not at 1/3 of what we had anticipated.
No. Do we have a view? Do we have a budget portion on where we are. Is this? I'm just getting it. Is this less than we expected or more than we expected?
This would be less than we had expected
Okay,
the
that is a
construction
rare
for the
finding.
construction
Thank you.
portion, yeah.
Great. And just following up on that, because Phase 2 has all the good stuff in it, the tertiary treatment, the reed bed, the biochar, all that, that's all, like, are we understanding the current costs of those, and we still have the money for those
Yeah.
within the, okay.
Yeah, each of those pieces, and you'll see kind of the last part of the report there, we included kind of a price breakdown that showed kind of the different chunks of that construction portion to kind of make sure that we had that understanding that, we haven't removed any substantial scope from the project to get to that point.
Good. Any other questions? No. And so when would this work start? Like this right away?
We'd be looking to get it going as soon as possible, yeah. Because
Yeah, awesome.
definitely the creek relocation work is very weather dependent.
Yeah.
So the way that this was laid out in this tendering process was there are portions of this that are still, waiting on the LWMP final approval. We chose to move forward with this. So we did set up, the creek relocation is not contingent on the LWMP. We can do that with proper environmental permits in place. So we tendered this as that being required work. All other portions of the Phase 2 were put down as optional due to the fact that we don't have all the permits we require to be able to move forward, with the hope that, we can get that LWMP approval as soon as possible and would allow us just to continue to work with the company straight through. So the pricing is in there to allow us to continue to move forward with them to completion, but that work had to be set as optional because we don't have the LWMP in place to be able to have them completely do all of it.
Okay, so, but does this recommendation allow you not to come back for that second piece and just continue on, or would you have to come back and get approval for that
No,
next spend?
we're asking for, this recommendation was the entirety of the Phase 2
Okay,
work.
okay,
Yeah.
great.
I just had a question around that. Is there any risk that the LWMP will make alterations or suggestions that would compromise this in any way, shape, or form, or?
Not the required work that we're doing.
Right.
And we don't anticipate that to be a concern, but no, the required work that we're doing is, not contingent on the LWMP.
Right.
The LWMP pieces, that's why we've let them as optional. If there were adjustments that need to be made, then we would have to have kind of negotiate discussions with the contractor at that point.
Okay.
I'd have to move forward with that.
Okay, sounds good.
Wild. Is this when we start building the boardwalk now after?
I think we need more funding for
Oh,
that.
yeah, sorry.
That's another grant and
It
another
feels like
time.
the end in sight kind of vibe, though.
Yeah,
But like this,
Step forward.
whoa.
It's a step
Yeah.
forward, we'll put it that way.
It's a zip line now.
very
It's-
cautious, very cautiously
Cedars
seeing
Say
that
that
end
out
in
loud.
sight.
Sorry, that's my fault.
Yeah.
I won't do
No,
that
that's
again.
good.
Nope.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah.
We're moving in that direction,
Yikes. Wow. Awesome.
fully forward.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Thanks.
if that's all the questions, there's a recommendation there.
Well, I can recommend that council approve the award of the High Performance Lagoon HPL Upgrades Phase 2 tender to Milestone Contracting Inc. in the amount of $1,074,903 excluding GST, and that council authorise the Chief Administration Officer to execute the contract.
Second.
All in favor? All right, thank you so much.
Perfect, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay, next up is review of council action items. You want to introduce this?
I can introduce the report. So this
Cleanup,
this
it's the cleanup report.
cleanup report. Yeah. So every once in a while, staff brings this forward for council to look at actions that have been addressed through other initiatives, are being managed through other processes, are no longer priorities, or have become inactive or obsolete due to other council action. So in the report, I think there's 8 or 9 of them here. Each action item in the report includes a brief discussion on work to date and challenges to complete the action. So council may remove those actions as recommended. Alternatively, council may retain actions on the list or give other direction to staff on the matters on that list. So
Thank you so much. Questions, council?
None here, no.
Man, you guys are so chill tonight. Okay, so I just have one on the Legion. So I know they came for permissive tax exemption, and we suggested that there might be another way. Did we get anywhere with that? Did it, I'm just wondering where it ended up. And my sense is that maybe we didn't get much of a response.
I'm not sure staff engaged with them further. I think maybe Kevin, I think Annie and Kevin were working on that one.
Yeah, I believe we reached out, this is a couple years ago now, with information on the $10,000 like grant program if they had a
Okay.
specific project. But that there was no like ongoing operating money available, and we never received a response. So there was no further engagement from them or us since then.
Okay. And they did apply for a grant through that program, I think, but for some reason it was incomplete or something. Or it wasn't included because of something.
I think there was one the
familiar.
Parksville Legion did apply for a housing study, and which was approved by council. This was a few years ago, and the project wasn't completed and the funds were returned.
Okay.
And I think there recently this year there might have been an application for an anniversary project, but the application was incomplete.
Yes,
Right.
that sounds
Okay.
correct.
Okay, so as long as they know that they have options, that's all I wanted to clarify. Thank you. Okay, so there's a recommendation there. With all the list of all the 8 things.
I'll move that council remove the following actions from the council action items list. Communication antenna policy, December 13th, 2021. Waste management center connection. Water connection, May 8th, 2023. Paved pump pack, May 8th. Paved pump track, May 8th, 2023. Conservation plan for the lands at Comox Lake and Perseverance Creek, February 26, 2024. Legion Branch 28 request to waive fees, July 8, 2024. Village Park Playground resurfacing, November 11, 2024. Scoping study mine water geoexchange, December 9, 2024. Puntledge Watershed Grant Support, October 6, 2025. And finally, Coal Hills BMX Track Expansion, November 10th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor? Cleanup done. Thank you. Okay, next up is possible active travel path. So in Councillor Tyrion's absence, I will just do a bit of an intro. So he and I met with Ministry of Transportation on his initiative to talk about using the right-of-way on the connector, on the east side of the connector to allow people to get off the connector to cycle into Courtney. And they seemed open to that. But then they suggested that, and we concurred, that staff-to-staff conversation needed to happen. So that is the generation of this report. It's been something we've been working on for the last several years, trying to find just a way to get around. And there was the CVRD route that was suggested and didn't go anywhere. And in the meantime, we have people who are cycling in on a very dangerous road and just want to find a way to make it slightly safer for them. And this seemed like a low-cost alternative that would sort of tie us over until we can get a proper, safe, bi-directional route. So this is in no way to replace a safe, active travel route that is permanent. This is a way to get people off that route who are already riding it and potentially have new riders use that area as well. So we've also been in conversation with the Cycling Coalition, who has also done some mapping and done some route finding and is also very keen to support this. And Councillor Tyrion has also spoken to UROC, who are happy to build the trail improvements that are needed. So that's what I have for you. Questions? Comments?
I think it's a good start. Definitely, I like the part where we're not replacing it, or this is the long-term solution, but it definitely makes an improvement on the high-speed sections of that highway, so.
Yeah, it's not, it would be a one-way route because we at this point don't have a way for people to cross. Yeah,
Something's better than
We wanna
nothing
set
to
that
get
up.
the conversation started
Yeah.
and keep going. And like you said, we've been working on this for quite a long time.
yeah.
After that, we can get safe access to the lake. Tack that on.
Potentially one right-of-way access leads to another or
yeah.
something like that, one would hope.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, I would say exactly that. It's an easier start than trying to do more all at once. We know that interchange desperately needs work to make it safer, but that's something that's long term, and because we understand it's in the planning, by demonstrating the viability and the use of this trail, then that adds impetus to of this route or similar route, that adds impetus to the active transportation design within that interchange. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The interchange remains an issue, but we are hopeful and have been engaging with the ministry on the design of that, the redesign of the interchange to include a safe route through there for our cyclists. So there's a recommendation there, Council?
Yeah. Well, if I may, I recommend that Council direct staff to engage the Ministry of Transportation and Transit regarding trail development for a safe cycling route to the east of Comox Valley Parkway from the Highway 19 interchange to the Cumberland Road intersection.
Second.
All in favor of that? And that is carried, thank you. Next up is bylaws, and the first one is development approvals process modernization. Come on up, Seamus.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the purpose of this report is to seek first, second, and third reading of Development Application Procedures Bylaw Amendment Bylaw number 1267-2026 and Fees Bylaw Amendment Bylaw number 1269-2026. So these bylaws are prepared as part of our Development Application Process Review, or DAPR, that we've been undertaking since 2021. So for some background, the village in 2021 did receive a grant from the Union of BC Municipalities, or UBCM, to modernize our development approval procedures and application processing workflows in our department. In 2023, that work, or phase one, was completed, and the outcome included a new development application procedures bylaw, which we'll be discussing tonight. Other notable changes included the accessory dwelling unit streamlining, as well as improvements to our internal review procedures. In 2025, the village received a second grant from UBCM to continue these modernization efforts. And working with our consultant Urban Systems, we reviewed the previous round of development application modernization and did a bit of a temperature check, you could say, to make adjustments to some of those procedures that have been implemented, and as well as some of the bylaws that did come into effect. So we got to review what worked really well and what needed a bit of just a bit of tweaks. So this work was completed between March 2025 and February of this year. And of course, the outcome were recommendations for bylaw amendments to our development application procedures bylaw, the fees bylaw, and the subdivision bylaw, of which staff have been working on processing amendments, which we're discussing tonight. So some of the other deliverables that have come out of this recent round of development application review include some new brochures, some internal processing forms, all those fun technical bits. And should the bylaws be approved, some of our guides, those will be made available to the public. We're just holding off on posting them because some of them have some language aligned with our new bylaws, so we don't want to confuse anybody. Now, one note about the subdivision bylaw. So we did review this bylaw as part of our part of this project, and our consultant did come back with some fixes to make to the subdivision bylaw. Now, as council may be aware, the village was awarded a UBCM grant to overhaul this bylaw and do a full rewrite. So we're still going to proceed with some of these amendments that the consultants have proposed to us, and you can expect those sometime in the fall. So we just want to review those against the scope of that project, so we're not duplicating our efforts. So tonight I'll be reviewing our development application procedures bylaw, and this is the bylaw that gives us the tools as well as the procedure that we must take when we are reviewing development applications in the village. So throughout this bylaw, we have quite a few housekeeping changes throughout. However, tonight we'll be focusing on the big changes, so some of the bigger changes that we are proposing in this bylaw. So yeah, I'll first start here with our development application procedures bylaw. So the first change that staff are proposing is the removal of notification requirements for delegated development variance permits. Now, of course, our delegated development variance permits are for smaller, minor items, so think things like fences, signs, accessory buildings, some of those really smaller projects. And we are proposing that we do remove the standard notification requirement, the mail out that would go out with as it does today, as well as like a standard variance that would come before council. And just for some background, we did retain this notification requirement in 2023. Under the Local Government Act, municipalities do not have to give notification for minor or delegated development variance permits, but at that time we did choose just to keep it consistent. However, some of the feedback that we have received since then has been comments on how, despite the variance being somewhat smaller or not significant, having to go through this full 10-day waiting period, waiting for comments and then working from there. So the hope of this is to help kind of remove that almost larger requirement, as well as hopefully speed up the variance process. So right now, there's as mentioned, there's a 10-day period for comment. By taking that out, you'd be speeding up a variance by a minimum of 2 weeks, potentially up to 4 weeks, because then staff do not have to prepare the notice, because that does take up some staff time as well. Now, just for clarity, of course, staff can still refer those variance applications to council, which would then, of course, trigger our standard notification process. So that's when you would see your mail out. So that part is not changing. So another change to notification requirements is removal of notification for a manufactured home park permit. So this is if someone was putting up a manufactured home park in the community. They don't happen very often, and in technical terms, they're very similar to a subdivision or development permit application, applications which do not require notification now. So it's bringing that in line with similar like-minded applications. We have proposing changes to our public information meeting requirements. So of course, public information meeting is where the applicant hosts a meeting. It's an opportunity for the community to learn about applications. And these are currently mandatory for official community plan amendments, zoning bylaw amendments, comprehensive development plans, non-delegated heritage alteration permits, and temporary use permit applications. Under these proposed changes, staff are recommending that the mandatory public information meeting be removed for all applications except the official community plan amendments, as well as comprehensive development applications. And the rationale behind this is these applications, the OCP amendments and your comprehensive development applications, they will have a larger and more significant impact on the community's long-term development. And that's where it would be very beneficial to ensure that the community has a say in those applications. Now, with the removal of the mandatory requirement, that's not to say that community engagement is off the board. Staff will still recommend that applicants undertake PIMs, or public information meetings, for rezonings and temporary use permits where the use is just a bit more of a departure than what's permitted in the zone. And again, with rezonings, that could also be like if it's a larger scale residential development, larger scale commercial development, so things like that. So we still have the ability to ask for public engagement where there could be a bigger impact to the community. I should also note council will still have the ability to call for additional public engagement if the need arises. So that power is not going away. And part of the rationale behind this too is to help with things like engagement fatigue. When there's so many different opportunities to engage, the public may just get a bit tired. So it does give us a little bit more flexibility as the situations warrant. And again, just some examples where we would recommend that, or strongly recommend that an applicant to undertake that engagement would again be like a TUP that's a significant departure from what's allowed in a zone, or again, a larger scale rezoning. We do have some clarification to our application and permit renewal guideline or requirements. So for example, if council issues a development permit, council gets to be the one that renews a development permit. We also give ourselves some just clearer guidelines on processing a temporary use permit. We've also added development variance permits as being eligible for renewal because as it stands right now, if a variance expires, then it would have to go through the full variance review process. So by adding this into our ability for renewal, it just allows us to take both a renewal for a DP and a renewal for a variance in one package just to make that process a bit cleaner. We've also added to the Director of Development and Bylaw Services delegated authority the ability to issue a heritage alteration permit in the event where it is a simple siding replacement project. So if someone wants to switch out their materials on their building, that could qualify for director approval, so long as, of course, it doesn't impact any heritage features and of course, aligns with the OCP criteria for heritage conservation. So it's in the same vein as we have already for things like windows and doors, so very close to that same approval that we already have in play. And finally, for this bylaw, we also have some tweaks to the notice of application sign requirements, so our development signage. We are removing the heritage alteration permit signage requirement for the minor heritage alteration permits, so things like signs, doors, windows. Some of the feedback we've gotten is that people have to put up a development sign so that they can still their business sign, so just to try and make that a little bit cleaner and easier to work through. We also are updating our sign placement requirements. So the current bylaw requires a 1 meter setback for the development signage. Of course, the Dunsmuir core, that doesn't quite work. So we have done that, authorized signs affixed to the building in the past. And this just formalizes that, just to clean that up a bit. Moving on to the fees bylaw. So we are making some changes to fees just in light of the adoption of the official community plan and changes in what triggers a development permit. So under the new official community plan, we are starting to see more development permit area 1 environmental protection and development permit area 4 wildland urban interface applications. And in the past, these applications have only been triggered in the event of, say, a large scale subdivision, which will have a greater impact in meeting these requirement guidelines. So in some cases, we've had things like single family dwellings on an existing lot or accessory buildings running into this requirement. And of course, these applications do have a lesser impact on these natural values. So as such, the review isn't as complex or as detailed. So what we're proposing is a lesser fee commensurate with the scale of that application. So we're proposing a $500 application fee as opposed to the current, in the case of a development permit area 1, $2,100 plus GFA charge, and $1,000 for a wildland urban interface. So just bringing that cost down to scale with the scope of the project. Although for clarity, if it is a development permit area 1, that larger charge for, say, a subdivision would still apply. So it's really just for those smaller scale projects. We are also clarifying development variance permit charges. So the existing charge of $950 currently applies to only single dwelling residential variances. So we've expanded that charge of $950 to all delegated approval variances, just to give a bit of consistency and in line with some other municipalities in the valley. We also have some clarity around peer review retainer language. So we've had situations in the last 4 years where we've actually had to trigger a peer review on a development permit, development variance permit. And these applications, we don't take a peer review retainer up front. The only applications we do so is at rezoning and subdivision. So what this language does is it just clarifies how the procedure works when we have an application that needs a peer review and how we proceed. So basically, we put the application now on pause until they pay their peer review fees, as opposed to going after them afterwards. There's also some similar changes to our newspaper advertisement billing. So currently, we take out the advertisement on behalf of the applicant, and we send them the bill after the application is concluded. With this change, we require that fee be paid up front at the time of application, so we aren't in a situation where we're chasing down applicants to pay that bill. So it just makes things a little bit easier to administer on the finance side. And then just as a final note on this bylaw, there are some general housekeeping changes in there, so some removal of redundant fees and some just reorganization to make it a bit more user-friendly. And I do want to note when it comes to net revenue, we're not expecting a dip in revenue from the changes, so decreasing the cost of some DPs and variances. So since we are expecting more DPA 1s and 4s based on the new OCP, we expect to get a bit more revenue from that stream to offset the drop in the variances. So we're not expecting any major changes to our revenue as a result. And finally, I do want to note that while we didn't do any formal engagement programs with this round of development approvals, many of these changes and proposals are guided by feedback we've received from the general public and the development community. So when people do mention, hey, this could have went better, things could be tweaked, we do take that feedback to heart, and we do try to make those changes to make things just a bit easier for everyone. And I thank you and welcome your comments and questions.
Awesome, thank you. I have a lot of yes beside these. Questions, Council?
Is that the end of the DAPR funding at this point?
How much more can we get?
That might be a
We've had 3 rounds, so.
that might be a Courtney question.
That's right, I don't know. It's the same funding stream that we just received the 200,000 for the subdivision bylaw, and I don't think they've said if it's being renewed again. We'll be paying close attention, though.
Okay.
They seem to like it, like what we're doing, so good work.
Yeah.
I mean, improvements are nice. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Ward?
Yeah, I just echo all of that, and that the reduced fees, every step, every place we can do that, that's better. Because those fees are cost recovery, I would expect that, it doesn't really matter whether the revenue rises or falls, because supposedly the cost is that the fees are less because the cost is less, and we're making sure that applicants are not paying more than it costs to process it, but are covering our staff needs, and that's the objective. It's not about revenue gaining. Yeah.
And making sure we get the money when we need it.
Exactly.
Not after.
Yeah, not after. Yeah.
I did. So my question on the which one is it? On the number 4, the HAPS, was did it apply to windows? But that's also now a delegated. So we've made that a bit easier too?
Yeah, so for heritage alteration permits, delegated HAPs, we've always had windows as a delegation. Again, so long as it doesn't impact the character defining elements of the building. So if there's a statement of significance and the windows are identified as such, that would then likely send the HAP through the full stream. So that could include heritage committee review as well as final review by council.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I really appreciate that. I think the HAP can be seen as a barrier to those building owners doing any work on their properties, and if we can allow them just to replace like for like and make it a bit simpler, it might help some of them do a bit more upkeep on the buildings. So thank you for that. There is a recommendation there, Council.
I'll move the council give first, second, and third reading to Development Application Procedures Bylaw Amendment Bylaw number 1267, 2026, and that council give first, second, and third reading to Fees Bylaw Amendment Bylaw number 1269, 2026.
Second.
All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thank you, Seamus.
Thank you.
Next up is Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw 1265, 2026, and Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1266, 2026 for third reading and adoption with there was a couple of things.
Yeah, a couple of small
things.
amendments. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor, Council. So, more bylaws. And this continues along the line that Seamus mentioned seeking to increase clarity and lighten the requirements for some properties, in this case, especially for those with the zoning bylaw for up to 3 units. So the amendments that we're proposing to in particular to the zoning bylaw, are in direct response to issues that were raised during the application process that have cropped up for us, and then also feedback from the applicants. And then the report also presents the record of the public hearing that we had on July 13th, and provides responses to some of the comments that came in as part of leading up to the public hearing and then at the public hearing. So I just maybe just highlight just a couple of them that might be of particular interest. I think we're trying to fix the things that were omitted, like we omitted except in the bylaw. It was in the track changes version, but so that someone caught that, so it's great. We ended up, and I'm not recommending a further prohibition against bulk water production for the reasons outlined, that we have other bylaws that deal with that kind of thing. And then the third one comes up quite a bit at different occasions. Why don't we use must in our development permit guidelines rather than should, so that we get what we need. And the challenge with asking is putting must is that development permit guidelines cannot be varied. So guidelines that set must is very rigid, which is more typical maybe of a zoning bylaw than development permit, which is in the OCP, which you can tailor around the development. So developments have different needs and different requirements. So should provides a bit more flexibility, should be provided. This is in relation to a playground or a recreation area that the question came up. But council still has discretion in the end to make it condition of a permit if it's felt it's required. So require would be quite obvious if it is a larger development and they're expecting single family families moving in there with children. There's usually a rationale for being able to ask for something. So can become a required. Then we had a speaker that at the public hearing that had questions about the landscaping and tree planting requirements. So that had already been lightened in the zoning bylaw amendments. So we're happy that we met that concern with not requiring landscaping regulations for up to 3 units. And then we'd also make some changes to the tree requirements. You can substitute a large one for 3 small ones, 2 medium-sized ones. We decrease the canopy size. And then I should point out, which I didn't put in the staff report, that if you have trees existing on the property, they also count towards your requirement. It's really, the goal is to get some kind of canopy cover on lots without unduly, requiring homeowners to shade the entire lot. So that's also there. So we're finding with the applications we're getting now, with this new rule, they're probably, 9 out of 10 times people have a tree already, and they would meet at least part of the requirement through the existing vegetation. So we didn't totally want to take it out, so we can still move towards trying to increase our canopy cover over time. So it would probably be applied more for newer lots. We did get support for the change in the setback. For the smaller buildings of up to 2 stories, back to 1.5 meters. And then as we're going through the bylaw, this other thing cropped up, a typo, so we're throwing that in here, correcting that. R3 should have been R1, and then we also took the sheet metal out of that particular requirement in line with what was requested at the previous meeting to be consistent, that landscape screens, could be sheet metal, so we took the sheet metal limitation out. We did not hear back from the school district on the referral. I did send them a reminder. They said they were going to look at it, but then I didn't receive any comments. I think the amendment bylaw probably does not affect them a great deal. So I'm comfortable without having the referral comments. But it is a requirement of the Local Government Act that OCP amendments are referred to the school district. So yeah, that's it for me. If there's any questions.
Thank you for that. Just on the school district thing, so what if they decide to give us feedback after we approve this? Do we just say, sorry, we gave you?
Yeah, the referral period is closed.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had given me something today, that would have been still great. I would have still shared that, but yeah. So it's closed. So they have to be given the opportunity, but we don't have to wait for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I doubt they have an interest, but you never know. Questions, comments? Anybody?
None.
Okay.
Want me to tackle this one like an
Yeah,
auctioneer?
go for it.
All right.
Do we have to read a whole? No, it's not that long, is it?
Oh, it's all
It
that.
goes around the page.
Goes around a corner there. All right.
Okay.
I move the council received the report of the public hearing held July 13th, 2026, and that council confirmed that in addition to the public hearing, consultation on the Amendment bylaw number 1265, 2026 includes the referral to the School District 71 for comment that council give third reading to the official community plan amendment bylaw number 1265, 2026, and that council adopt official community plan amendment bylaw number 1265, 2026, and that council amend zoning amendment bylaw number 1266, 2026. Number one, in section 3A following D, water and beverage bottling by inserting except. Number two, in section 5K by inserting at the end and in the sentence starting with no landscape screen in any zone by striking R3 and substituting I3 and by striking sheet metal. And that council give third reading to zoning amendment bylaw number 1266 as amended. And that council adopt zoning amendment bylaw number 1266, 2026. Okay, I think that's it. Or do I keep going with?
Yeah, I think we
Okay.
can do them all at once.
And that council adopt building amendment bylaw number 1254.
No, you want to do it separate?
You want to do that separate? Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
For wherever we
That
were.
is carried.
Okay.
So then did you do the third reading?
Okay.
You did. Oh, we just didn't do the adoption. That's what the one you want
Oh,
separate?
yeah, sorry.
Oh, we did them all?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, that's it for this report.
That's for this report. Okay.
Okay.
We're up to
Excellent.
8.3.
Like I said, lots of bylaws.
Sorry, I
Yes.
got carried away. Got a little carried away there.
Oh, that's great. Okay, and next up is Building Amendment Bylaw 1254, 2026 for adoption.
I'll move the, what? Yeah.
You didn't do all those, did you? Oh, did he?
We stopped at the adoption of the zoning amendment bylaw.
That's what I thought. So 8.3 we're at.
Yeah, did you vote on 8.2?
Yes.
Yeah,
We voted on
sorry.
it, on
Yeah.
everything. No. Previous to that.
Okay. So Building Amendment Bylaw number 1254 for adoption.
I'll move the council adopt building amendment bylaw number 1254, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
I'll move the
That's
council
carried.
adopt fees amendment bylaw number 1261, 2026.
Second.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
All in favor? Next one.
Councillor?
Counselor?
Oh, okay. I'll move that council adopt development cost charge reserve funds bylaw number 1263, 2026.
Second.
All in favor? That is carried. And amenity cost charge.
I'll move that council adopt amenity cost charge reserve fund bylaw number 1264, 2026.
Oh, second.
All in favor? That is carried. And water conservation.
I'll move that council adopt water conservation amendment bylaw number 1271, 2026.
Second.
Sorry, all in favor? Thank you. Those are all carried. Okay. Notices, motions, and announcements. These are upcoming things and notices of motion. So there's a recommendation there that council write a letter to the Honorable Rebecca Alty, Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations, affirming our support for Comox Treaty, its importance in advancing collaborative work on local infrastructure and economic development, and urging that all measures be taken to ensure a smooth and expeditious path to federal approval. Expeditious? Expeditious. To federal approval. So that's, I guess, I'm not really understanding how this is, but okay, there's that's the recommendation. And it's separate from the,
Oh.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, I see.
yeah, I'm confused.
There's two.
Because there's two. So the next one is the Comox Treaty support for federal approval motion, which is coming from me through the regional district via the treaty table. So that's the recommendation that we need to pass.
I will move that council write a letter to the Honorable Rebecca Alty, Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations, affirming our support for Comox Treaty, its importance in advancing collaborative work on local infrastructure and economic development, and urging that all measures be taken to ensure a smooth and expeditious path to federal approval.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Sorry, it was in there twice on my copy, so we double did it. We doubled down. Okay, question period. Any questions? Anybody? Audience
Questions?
member?
Gallery?
Question? Nothing?
No questions?
Come
Nothing
on.
online?
Come on.
Okay, no announcements. So we're moving to closed. If someone would move that.
I'll move the council close the meeting to the public pursuant to Section 90 of the Community Charter to consider a matter that under enactment is such that the public may be excluded from the meeting.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?